Name her.
Hey everyone, welcome to episode 33 of Cocktails and Pajamas. I'm Heidi, that's Foresta, and tonight we have Lindsey Mann with us. Um, Lindsey is an incredible woman, an incredible person that I have very fortunately been had the opportunity to get to know the last few months. And Lindsey and I have even taken a more deeper and intimate opportunity to connect with each other and support one another. So she is really very well versed and experienced with permaculture and fashion and how fashion um, affects the environment. And also, she is an Akashic Records reader and has, for me, shown me things and enlightened me to things and information that I think innately in Lindsey I knew was there, but I didn't really know how to go deep enough to access it. And and so that has been a gift that I can't even I don't even have the words for. And I was just saying to Lindsey last week when we met that, for me this has kind of felt like therapy in a way, because I bring a lot of questions to our sessions, and she goes deeper into the records, into my ancestry, and is able to kind of glean that information and really dig into it. um, so I think I that's my intro. I think the world of her, and really glad that she's in my circle. So Lindsey Mann, yeah, we're so thrilled to have you here tonight.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm honored to be here with the two of you. And that was a very, very touching intro. Thank you so much. I am so thrilled to be speaking with the two of you. And same, we've been getting to know each other these past few months. We've become fast friends and colleagues and teachers and students to one another. I mean, I feel like we've gotten so many different levels of bonding. With both our similar points of view, but also our very different cool modalities in the ways that we teach and communicate and channel and connect with spirit and are in touch with our empathic nature. So I'm really thrilled to be here with the two of you. And yes, the Akashic Records. So I really appreciate how you described that the Akashic Records basically confirms things that you already know about yourself. That is the most common thing that comes up during sessions working with people, because it is speaking to you on the soul level. So all of the messages are coming through from the soul's perspective and from the highest perspective of you. So it's automatically going to speak to you and be like, oh, I've been thinking about that, or I've been doing that, or that's been like right at the tip of my tongue, but it like unearths it and brings it like right to the forefront. And you're like, because it's you. It's so you. It's all of you. So just a brief explanation about the Akashic Records. My favorite definition of the Akashic Records is the electromagnetic imprint of everything that's ever happened. That is the more like sciencey explanation of it. I love that one. And speaking with the two of you, because we are so deeply in touch with subtle body energy and energies in general, and connecting with spirit and communicating, being able to connect with the electromagnetic imprint of something, it requires our deep listening and our spidey senses to receive and channel the information. And Heidi, as a psychic, channeling, it's the same type of way to receive, though individually I think we receive things differently, but it's being receptive. And the other explanation that I love of the Akashic Records are that they are every soul's journey. So the archives, the vibrational archives of every soul's journey throughout all its incarnations. So that's all of your past lives, everything going on in this life, and then all future possibilities. And it's always coming from the highest perspective of you and everyone connected to you. So that was just the brief explanation. And again, I'm so thrilled to be here with the two of you. I feel like we can always talk forever about all the cool things that we get into. And so this is such a pleasure to be here speaking with the two of you tonight.
Oh, thank you so much. I really appreciate you bringing along the past lives and ancestral stuff, because I think one thing I learned from you while going through what felt like a forever chronic issue was being like, I've done everything I can. And you were like, yep, you have in this life, right? And it was so relieving to understand that some things can just be residual. I won't say just, but that some things can be residual. And that for me just made me feel less crazy and a little bit more expansive about where things might be coming from in my life, and not getting as myopic as I can about self, me, I.
Hmm. And, you know, in my experience, I feel like I have to say, every time we meet, I am kind of astonished at how quickly we go that deep, and how, because I have to say, when I go into a reading, I go into it with a very open mind, with really very little expectation, because I don't know what to expect. And when information reveals itself, when the records reveal the information, I am I'm blown away every time. And I would also say that, you know, when I want more, there's a part of me, like, it's interesting, Lindsay, there's a part of me that's afraid to ask for more, because I'm like, do I really want to go deeper? And I realized that not only it, regardless of whether or not I want to go deeper, I need to go deeper, because I need more information for myself. And so, yeah, so for the listeners out there, welcome tonight to our podcast, to our hour together. And like I said, we have Lindsey Mann here with us tonight, who reads the Akashic Records. And um, listen to my explanation, listen to her explanation of what they are. Faresta and I both have worked with her. And if you want your records read, if you have information that you're looking for, we'll put Lindsay's contact information in our notes, and on Facebook Live, and wherever, and on YouTube, I guess. But yes, so welcome everyone. Yeah.
Yeah, and I wanted to tag on to that. You know, Lindsay, you talk about it's like on high, right? It's the soul. So that soul speak, it always feels true to me. It always feels kind to me. It feels important to let people know. Um, and it always has this place of like expansive energy in the share. It never feels harmful. I guess that's what I'm getting at.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know, it's interesting because the a very common experience when people hear even the word Akashic, there's a part of us that kind of understands what that is, and that it is something very big and can feel intimidating. And when I first heard about the Akashic Records, I had a friend who was reading for me. She was practicing. And at the end of practicing with me, she was like, "You're going to learn the Akashic Records." And I was like, "No, I'm not." I was like, no, 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 like, no, 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 no. And then it naturally unfolded. And but the first time I heard the word Akashic, I was like, what is that? They seems really scary and big and intense. And a lot of people feel this fear when they first at the beginning of a reading, when I start talking about it, they're like, I'm nervous. And I'm like, I think you're excited. But what's funny is the thing to keep in mind is no matter what you ask, the Akashic Records will never tell you anything that you're not ready to hear, that you're not meant to hear. But the bottom line is, it's always going to meet you where you're at. the consciousness and the way that the messages come through, it is this like supremely intelligent consciousness that matches your consciousness exactly where you're at. And oftentimes when we go deep and do like the really like serious questions of very, difficult experiences, the records will come out with humor. They'll show something funny. But within the funny is something very valid and true about the experience. And it's like, we have to remember that this, like the spiritual has a sense of humor.
Yeah, and this has me thinking, even in my coaching practice or when I'm being coached, the best coaches I have worked with are meeting me where I'm at and also inviting me to step forward into more. So it feels like a similar energy of encouragement and nudging, without any real pushing.
Mhm.
Yeah, I love that. I mean, if we could meet everyone exactly where they were at, right?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Everyone would feel so seen and heard.
Yes.
Yeah.
And met.
Yes.
Yes.
And really met and witnessed
Yeah.
100% as they are.
Mhm.
Oh my God. Yeah. I feel like that would just be, that would heal so much of humanity
Yeah.
at a pretty deep level,
Yes.
because
Think
at
of
the
one
end
of
of the day, I say this a lot, but at the end of the day, we all just want to be seen, heard, and witnessed
Yeah.
as we are
Mhm.
in our humanness.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. Oh, that's beautiful. Yeah, I always say to my partner, like, have you met me today? Just to remind ourselves not to automate each other. Like, oh, I know everything about you. It's like, no, still full of surprises.
I
Right.
love that.
And just reminding, like, even with friends I've known for decades, like, let me not put them in a box because they're ever unfolding, ever changing, hopefully dynamic, mutable beings, right?
Right.
If they're growth minded.
Yeah.
Yes.
How's
Allow-
that land for you too? Like just that.
Totally. Yeah. Allowing each other to change and grow and be something new and not holding on, because yeah, that creates so much tension and constriction and limitation.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm remembering an experience that I had with a friend back in my 20s before I had started all this path of growth work and everything. And this is literally back in the days of letter writing
Mhm.
and actual phone calls where you were tethered to a wall. I
Mhm.
know. And she had shared something in a letter with me about this favorite country singer that she liked, and I was like, oh, okay. And then the next time we got together, which was probably 5 or 6 years past this information, and in my head, I had this story of this person only likes country music because she had shared this one experience with me. And I was just like, and she's like, Heidi, actually, I love this group and this group and this. And I'm like, oh, okay. But I mean, I realize that's a small example, but that's really what we're like. I realize that I can't put, what is it called? Put baby in a box. Is that the metaphor or whatever? But like, let's not stick people in a box, because I think oftentimes just we do that by mistake or inadvertently. And I'm like, I realized at that moment that was a really good lesson for me. And I'm like, okay, no, there's just so much more to her, to that person, to that person, to that person.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Totally. I think of like the ego wanting everything neatly tied up in a bow and having little containers for everything. Like, let me categorize, let me classify, let me calculate. And then the soul being like, we're all in this intersubjective, collective, uh, thinking like pool that's ever moving waters. Like, how could we ever separate ourselves? And I don't know. It just feels big to me.
Very.
Yeah.
And I think that's what's so frustrating about, how things are presented today, where there are so many boxes and it's like, wait, we're not. We're not. And you see the clash between
Right.
wanting to keep things in boxes and categorized, and then recognizing that there's so much mixing and meshing and growing and flowing. And it's like, you can't, like, I mean, you can try and control it, but there's going to be so much
Right.
Yeah.
resistance and pain and suffering, and just, it's not how we are, you
No.
know. And
Right.
it just, I mean, it naturally makes me think just evolution. Like, we're always evolving as individuals and as humans, as a species. We're evolving, we're flowing, we're changing, and I hope we are, you know. And I understand the why that might be scary, because that means you're letting go and you're surrendering what has been and opening up to the unknown and the mystery, and that can create some fear and anxiety, but then also clenching so tightly to who we were, you know. And even like that makes me think of like when we grip on to like past stories in our life and how tightly we hold on to them. And you know, we could experience things when we're children, and then we're in our 30s, 40s, 50s, and we hold on to this memory, so a part of us is still there, you know. And you have to do so much work to let that go, but we all do it. We all hold on to pieces of things for totally different reasons.
Yeah.
And the letting go of what that feels like, and usually it's a, you know, requires some faith and surrender and trust in what's unfolding.
Right. Yeah, 100%. And, you know, in the last few weeks, we've had, besides the new moon and Mercury being in retrograde, and we've had several eclipses, there's been a lot of movement and unearthing and just change. Like, I mean, change is happening all the time, but I feel like I have been smacked in the face with it in a big way. And, you know, you mentioned resistance, and I'm just like, at the beginning, I was like, hell no, I don't want to do this. Like, I really don't want to do this. Um, and I'm going to look for another way to deal with this. Of course, that does not exist. Like, the reality is that doesn't exist. And then I was like, okay, so how do I sift through this in the gentlest way possible? Because it literally felt like I was just being smacked in the face. And you know, and I've gotten support from you, Vanessa, and you, Lindsay, and another friend, and had some crunchy conversations here and there. And I'm like, and through it, like you talked about, like trust, faith, having faith and trust to believe that at the end, even though I know I'm not through it, but I do at this point know that when I get to the end, whatever the end is, it's gonna be okay. Like, that is one thing that I know for certain throughout my life, every situation that I've been through, even though I can't see the end and I don't know when the end is coming or what it's going to be like, I do know that I'm going to be okay. And that's been a huge, huge uh, piece of my spiritual journey. Yeah.
I'm feeling soothed just even hearing that. It's like, oh yeah, I have myself, no matter what those liminal transitional places are.
Yeah.
I was having a conversation early today with a friend of being like, wow, I'm noticing for me when there's anything that's on the fence, I just want it to fall off the fence one way or the other. Like, I can sense my discomfort. It's like, if people I really love are having a struggle in a relationship, I'm like, divorce or get a coach, figure it out. Like, I want resolution because I'm so uncomfortable. Or a women's group I was a part of kind of dissolved, and it's like, do we keep it? Do we build again? Do we let it go? And it's like, I just want to know. I just want a decision. I'm uncomfortable in the brainstorming process, which is crazy because I love creativity. And this friend said to me, her view of those liminal transitional places is she has so much choice. And I was like, wow, I totally, because to me, I'm just like, feels disempowering and uncomfortable. I'm forgetting she's like, I have all these choices when things are transitioning and liminal, and I can feel things out and I can touch things and I can try things and nothing's solid and that feels good. And I'm like, I guess I just really want solid certainty then. But it just planted a little seed of, ooh, what's it like to savor the liminal instead of rushing through it? So I just throw that out there for you ladies.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm really hearing that, Teresta, because I've talked about using the pause and I use it a lot, even though I have to say I have moments when I'm so resistant and I hate it. Like I really hate it with a passion. And I also realize that even in the hatred of it, there's something for me to be learning about it. There's something that I am to hear. And without the pause, I can't hear anything. So to wait and to be patient. And I mean, I have spent years waiting for information. People are like, you're crazy. I'm like, yeah, maybe. But I also know that if I wasn't in the space to hear it, to receive it, it would have passed me by.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I agree with that so much. I feel like, yeah, I move slower. I take my time more in making decisions because I just noticed like in those rush pressure cooker moments, more likely than not, the wrong decision was made for me. I made the wrong decision, or the wrong decision was made for me, or my choices were seemed limited. And going back to choice, something that really set me free around choice. I spent so much time thinking, or maybe, someone said something when you're growing up, oh, you don't have a choice. Someone yells at you and says, you don't have a choice, right? And like you embody that and you have that belief system, and that belief system takes on a life of its own, so that when an adult tells you to do something, you have to do it, something like this. So I remember being out and about and overhearing these two gentlemen talking about some scientific research around the fact that in every given moment or decision, you have 35 or 36,000 choices. There's like some scientific research about how many choices you have within a decision. And I was like, what? Like that changed my life. And I was like, oh, and that allows for like all the possibilities to come in and to get even more creative. It's like, I can leave like this, I can leave walking like this, it's like, it's just like, what? Like, I don't even know what that means. But that really like opened my mind, because for so much I was just like, it has to be this or it has to be this, and everything felt so confining and like rigid and limiting. Yeah.
Wow. That like just a
Yeah.
little bit for me, and it's just helping me collect continued evidence of like, wow, there are so many choice points, and there's poetry to be written in that, right? Like you're building your life, you're writing your life, and I'm excited about it. And I'm also noticing that there's a part of me that likes it being limited and clear and bullet points, and that when it's that expansive and open and infinite possibilities, it's almost something I crave. And it's also something that's like, Lord have mercy, that's a lot.
Yeah.
Because it's so powerful.
Yeah.
That would mean I'd have to step into being powerful.
Yeah.
That's what it feels like to me right now.
Yeah. So if you were to step into the powerful, what would that look like?
I feel an ease when you say that. Like just a like, cool, let's see how it goes versus let me curate it. Right? Like let's see what unfolds, which I think is really my true nature anyway. That feminine part of me that likes to be receptive, likes to lean back, likes to see what magic is unfurling around me. I think I've just gotten rigid and very strong at the masculine in the last year. That's what I'm noticing. Like I've done the reps over there.
Mm-hmm.
Those muscles are like on steroids. And now it's like, oh, wait a minute. What about these muscles, these attitudinal muscles, you know?
Yeah. So I don't know if you two know this, but Glennon Doyle has a new podcast, and it's called We Can Do Hard Things. It's wonderful. And so I haven't listened to today's episode, but I have listened to the others. And she did a podcast a couple weeks ago on infidelity. And so that term just kind of like, it's kind of like an umbrella term for a lot of things. And the one thing that she was talking about in as far as infidelity goes is that, like, when, because we're talking about choice and the opportunities that we have, right? And what happens when we don't listen to our inner voices and how that affects us and our infidelity with ourselves. Because, like, when we don't, I know, right? Because, like, when we don't listen to ourselves, we're actually cheating on ourselves because we're not listening to our truth. And I have to say, when I heard those words, I was just like, whoa! Like, I felt like the skies open and the angels were singing. I'm like, that is so, that, like, truth right there, potent, potent words. Um, anyway, I've been dying to talk about, because I'm just like, it's so juicy and so important for people to hear that, because 9 times out of 10 I will say most people who aren't used to listening to their interview voice, who would rather have someone else make the choice for them, that's what they're doing. And then after a certain time, they're like, oh my God, but I knew and I didn't listen to myself and I already had the right answer for me. And then regret sets in and then all that kind of stuff. And so, like, I want to encourage those who are listening to, like, let's really take, we have everything that we have that we need within us. Let's take advantage of those gifts that we have created for ourselves and that have been given to us, and really pay attention and to listen to ourselves.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, because, and that becomes self-betrayal, that becomes self-harm. And so, and then you have to dig through and work through to do self-forgiveness because you were doing something that was so out of alignment and so not true to who you are and what you believe and what you value. Yeah, it does. And it's fascinating because you're right. I mean, those experiences can harm a lot of people externally, but then you find that when you dig deeper and deeper, it's like actually that person, if you are the one who, like experience or created the the infidelity, you are the one hurting the most, even if it's, and usually that's like the deep subconscious layer, like that's the blind spot, is like, yeah, but you're not being true about this, but you're not being true to yourself, so most of the harm is actually at you, even though it might affect other people outside. That is a really good point. That's beautiful. Wow.
Yeah, and this term self-betrayal, like, it comes up in coaching a lot because people have been trained to bypass themselves in society. Like, it's so prevalent. And to have people stop questioning their sensitivity, to trust their experience, to believe in their intuition and their instincts, like, then it's like, watch out, because this person's going to be in alignment, and spirit is efficient. When you're in that place, choices and who you orbit with and the work you choose to do becomes far more clear. And I think it's a hero's journey trying to undo what society or family has introjected, has kind of put values upon people. It's part of what I see with, like, midlife check-ins. I don't call them crises, but, like, when people come with, like, okay, I need a checkup at midlife, it's like, I've done all the things on the checklist. I'm not happy. So, like, what am I missing? And it's often they're missing that connection with themselves that stays tried and true and honored, even at the expense of risking connection with people.
Mhm.
Yeah, I had a client a while ago that I was working with and making great progress and really working hard, and was in this partnership that wasn't growing with her. And I was encouraging her to keep doing the work that she was doing, because she would come to me and she'd be like, I made this choice to do this and I made this choice to do this. And I'm like, and this was not even, and I don't really give my clients homework, but she was just creating homework for herself. And I was just like, my mind was blown. Like, I was so pleased and proud of the work that she was simply doing on her own. And and then she just kind of stopped. Like, she was just like, and then when I was trying to encourage her a little bit more, like, I could hear and see the fear come up because her partner wasn't growing with her. And I could see that if she would have, well, I don't know. I don't want to make an assumption, but my thought was just like, okay, is your part, in my mind, I'm thinking to myself, can we bring your partner along in this journey? Like, what are you sharing with your partner? So those were my questions in our, I'm like, are you sharing this with your partner? Can you bring your partner along with you in this piece of homework that you did, where you decided to do this for yourself? Can you bring your partner along? Are they in agreement with you? How are they feeling about this decision that you made? Um, and it was interesting. It was almost like she didn't want her partner to know. And I was just like, oh, my heart was breaking. I can't even tell you, because, you know, I just feel like when we get to a certain point in life and we've raised the kids, and, none of us, of course, have kids, but, like, I would just take the typical, whatever that is, person, right, who has a family and has the kids and does all this stuff for themselves. And then they're like, the kids are grown and they're through college, and you're like, well, what about me? I mean, how many women are saying, or even men are saying, well, what about me? I did all this and this, and what about me? And then they, and so what I want women to do and people to do is to find the courage within themselves to think about, to start asking yourselves these questions before you get to the midlife. What do you call it? Midlife
Check in, check up.
check in.
I love that.
before you buy the red Ferrari, right? So before you get to the point of a midlife check-in, just start asking yourself these questions, because they really are important. And you don't want to get to a point where you're like, oh my God, what have I done? And you feel like you're in crisis mode.
Mhm.
Because once you're in crisis mode, it's not like you can't fix it. It's just a little more challenging. Um, I feel like I just went off on a tangent, but I just also felt like it was really important to say that.
Yeah, that was really important. Yeah. But it's also, it's like you lose your identity. And so
Yes.
you start over and it's like, who am I? And instead of having the midlife check-in and some form of perhaps a downward spiral or feeling lost, it's more like, who can I be now? It's an opportunity to build anew. You can be a whole new person. It's like you've got your whole life ahead of you. And like, I feel like every day, no matter what age we are, that's how we should wake up. We have our whole life ahead of, just whatever that means, whatever that means. And every day we can try something new, learn something new, go a different way, or hang tight and marinate where we're at, And
Yeah.
even being in the fear is important, because that's information. Being in the fear, being in whatever comes up when you're in those transitional, abrupt or seemingly abrupt and shocking transitional moments. It's like, okay, like, I think the most simple way to look at it is, it's a book and this is a chapter, and either the whole book is done and there's a new book to write, or a chapter is done and there's a new chapter. And it's like, what's next? So like the curiosity and the creativity and the opportunity and the possibilities, that makes it open. versus the contractual, like, oh no, there's nothing. And it's like, no, there's everything.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's making me think, as much as I do relationship stuff, and it's like, don't automate your partner. It's like, please don't automate yourself.
Yeah.
Please don't think all that you are today is all that you could ever be, because that doesn't make any sense to me.
Right.
Right. And it's also this place of like, and also please keep yourself in the equation, even if you are parenting or caring for parents or whatever level of care that a lot of empaths give to the world. Like, please make sure when you do the math, you are actually in the equation.
Yeah.
Because to wake up one day and realize you didn't put yourself in the equation, it's really painful. And like you said, it's not irreversible, but it is more painful.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I can honestly admit that that has been my life. Like, I was not even existent in the equation. I'm 36 years old, and it probably was like between like the past couple of years, well, between like 30 and now, that I realized, oh my God, like, where have I been in my life? You know, doing this because you're supposed to, and doing this because it's the next step, and doing this because someone's bothered if you do that. And then it was like, wait a minute. But I didn't spend that much time, because that reflection made me think, wow, you wasted so much of your life on other people. It now went like, wow, well, full freedom up ahead. Like, I'm not, like, it was just like, now, from now on, it's like, what do I want? How do I want my life to be? Freedom, 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 what I want, when I want it. And like, I am an adult and I can do that, you know, but maybe I held on to those childhood beliefs that you have to do what you're told, you know, authority, teachers, parents, whatever the belief systems of whoever's of an authority figure. But very much admittedly, that it has taken most of my life for me to realize I was doing that my whole life.
Yeah.
Lindsey, I'm loving the lemonade you're making from those lemons, though, of like full force freedom and your choices, like to
Yeah.
just reclaim what's yours.
And that realization, even kind of, and I joke around, but I think I'm pretty serious. I feel like I'm 36 going on 18, and I'm just starting my life
Mm-hmm.
as an adult in this world. And it's kind of like, you know, I'm responsible for myself. I'm responsible for my choices. I will make the choices that are best for me. And it feels very empowering. And I feel like I'm 18
Mm-hmm.
with the wisdom of a, I don't know, 70-year-old.
Yeah. Yeah. I really hear that. Yeah. Um, I have, I don't know, at least a handful plus a handful of people in my life right now who, I mean, I think we've all, you know, experienced what we've experienced in this last 16 months because we've had to kind of forcibly really take a close look at ourselves and our lives. And I would say right now I have probably 5 or 6 people in my life who are on the brink of making a very big change, like leaving a relationship, leaving a marriage, in the process of whatever, like big processes. And it's fascinating to me. And I'm just like, and I'm like all in. Like, yes, I'm excited for them. I know that it's going to be hard and scary, and they're going to face probably, you know, some blockages or whatever. But I'm like, do it. Like, I can't even, like, my pom poms can't be big enough, you know, and my megaphone can't be loud. It's like, I'm so excited for you. This is so awesome. Because, you know, really, like, we really all do deserve the best.
Yes.
And we deserve everything we really want in our lives. And so, because of that, why aren't we like, let's all just go after it and really claim for ourselves what it is we want, what we desire. Like, our friend Janice talks a lot about desire in her work, and I love that. And so, like, I often ask myself, I'm like, in this moment, what do I desire? Like, really take a moment, think about what I desire, and then claim it, and then go after it, or find a way to kind of like process through, how do I get to that place? and yeah, I want more of that, and I want more of that for my friends, because if they're happy, I'm even more happy than I am. Yeah.
I love that word desire. I feel like I've had relationships with that word that weren't so healthy in the past, either excess, I'll say in my 20s, which is like desire on steroids, and then even like this kind of weird timidness around desire just from society's dampening of the feminine, for lack of a better word. And it took me a long time to reclaim, like, no, you know what? My desires really matter. And I had a mentor at the time, I have this, like, she has these archetypes. It's like, oh, the New Yorker, the New Yorker is going to like be the badass that builds your queendom and your purpose and your mission. And when I'd be like, oh gosh, I'm running out of steam, I need more New Yorkers, she's like, you need more Frenchie.
Ooh.
And I'd be like, what now? And she's like, yeah, your favorite cheese, like a bubble bath, the best song you've like ever heard. Your New Yorker is replenished by your Frenchie. And that took me a solid year to intellectually understand, start to integrate, and then embody. To be like, I have Frenchie Fridays. That day is, what do I desire? But I just want to speak to that part of me as a woman that was like, desire? Desire? Like, is it okay to have desire? I don't know that we're allowed that. That was a really weird glitch in my software.
Yeah. And I appreciate what you said about that, the feminine being dampened, because the feminine and desire and embodying and expressing your desires, that allows for what you desire to magnetize to you. And that is the power of the being in our feminine energy, is that things come to you when you're in that energy, and how powerful that is, and that we have been so trained and conditioned to fear that. We don't want to bring things to us. We don't want to bring attention, or we think it's going to be negative attention, or we're going to be attracting harm, or we don't deserve what we want, and all of that. But absolutely, I like Frenchie Fridays. That's a great idea.
And I will own, like, my badass New Yorker is ready to roll up her sleeves come Monday, like solid, replenished, ready to go, excited to go.
Yeah.
But that's like one gear, right?
Yeah. Can't be on that drive all the time. And that drive not only exhausts you, but it also pushes things away when it becomes too much of that. And so it's like, yeah, totally striking the balances of that.
Yeah. Wow. So I just want to take a moment, and for those who are listening, to pop in a hello into the comments. If you have a question or a comment about anything we've talked about, please feel free to do that. Shout out, tag Fedesta, myself, Lindsey. We'd love to hear from you. There was someone last week, I read a comment. It's a friend of yours, Fedesta, who we were talking about childbearing and and the challenges of that once we head into a certain age. And so anyway, I'm mentioning that just simply because I'm just glad to know that people are here. It's exciting to me to know that we have people who are listening and who are paying attention, because I this week I googled what did I put in my search bar? I put in something like female friendships or intimate conversations, and there's nothing. I haven't found anything like this. I have found podcasts about learning how to do it, like coaching on how to do it, but I haven't. And maybe I need to put something else in the search bar. I don't know, but I didn't see anything where women are having real conversations about relationships and issues to do with, like, honest and authentic and vulnerable conversations about, hard topics. So I want to say maybe we're the first ones to do this, which is kind of it's a little scary. It's a
because
little scary,
it's important.
but you're right. I do feel it's important, Lindsay. Thank you for saying that. I really do, because I think we kind of go through life and we're just sort of floating on the surface, living our lives, going about our days, having, doing our work, whatever that we do, spending our time however we spend it, and not really connecting with other people, with other women, with other humans.
Mhm.
And that's the reason that Fidesz and I started this podcast. It literally started as we weren't even taping. We were just having Zoom conversations in our own time and lives, and doing it, and then to bring it here just so we can model this for other people. Yeah, I'm just glad to bring it.
Mhm.
Really glad to bring it.
It is really important. And, the community of women that we know can go really, really deep. Very, very honest, and with so much compassion and understanding and openness for multiple points of view. And I feel like that even circles back to the beginning of the conversation about boxes, um, and that we're just not that we're not that limited. We're not that small. We're so much more layered and complex, from hour to hour, day to day, month to month, year to year, decade to decade. And there's so many layers to us, so many different opinions. And every time we grow, we've got more things to integrate and more things to learn and more things to share. And you're right, there isn't a lot of the open, freely speaking freely conversations between women. And we have a new dialogue these days. We have a new dialogue. There's a lot more to be said, and it's not the boxes that women have, traditionally been in at all. We have so many points of view.
And I also want to say, we named it Cocktails and Pajamas because we literally were in our pajamas having a cocktail when we were meeting, and it just sounded to me so cozy and comfy and really laid back. And I want people to know that this is a place where you can come and know that you're going to hear some really authentic things, and vulnerable topics, and we really are bringing our full selves with a little help of a cocktail. Yeah.
And I would love to just share some appreciation with you, Heidi, because you and I would have a check-in somewhere on the weekend, maybe, and then have our Wednesday podcasts. And you started to sense or attune to, like, you share more on the weekend when we're not recording than you do when we're live and recording. And are you, if we go Facebook Live, right? The challenge was, are you really willing to bring what you bring on Saturdays to our Wednesdays? And I say that because, in my view, fierce love is both the support and encouragement of a friend and the challenge to step forward as a friend. Like, that to me is like real friendship. And yeah, I just remember you being like, this is crunchy, and this is what would have me say yes to going live, is that you're bringing all of you, not 90% of you, right? Yeah, it's huge. Like, just for us to do that with our friends, like, hey, step forward, bring it. I have myself.
Right. And to be that honest, it's hard and it's scary, and at the end of the day, that's what I want in my life. Like, I want my friends to be direct and confrontational in a kind way, but really, like, bring it, just bring all of it, because if it's something that I need to hear that you're feeling, I probably need to hear it. And we can have a conversation, we can work it out, we can have a conversation about it. But if you keep it to yourself, it's going to stay stuck, and that it just turns really toxic, and it's not pretty. So that's that's what we're modeling here. And I think it's really important. Yeah.
Yeah, and I'll say it builds trust because
Uh,
to be that friend who's choosing to be kind of unpopular and do the hard thing and say the thing no one else is saying,
yeah.
right? Because how we do some things, we're probably doing it everywhere a little bit.
Yeah.
Had me looking at like, how am I posturing when I coach? How am I posturing with my parents? Like, where am I not giving that other 10%? It allowed me to have some introspection on like, where am I maybe sheltering the deepest parts of me, um, and why. So it was a gift to be challenged in that way, and to be challenged lovingly. Like, it was kind, gentle, and like,
Well, thank you for receiving it with an open heart. It really means a lot.
Lindsey, does that anything in that feel alive for you, or anything we've shared as we slowly wind down?
Yeah, I mean, I almost feel like with the challenges that we've really been slammed with in the past year and a half, we almost don't have time for anything but that realness and that rawness with each other. And I think that's also part of why friendships and relationships are falling apart, is because it's missing that place to be real, raw, and vulnerable. And it's kind of like there's no harm. It's just it's not in alignment, and I don't think people can resonate with what's not in alignment. I think we were also confronted with our deepest fears, and fear and death. It was like everybody right in their faces, and it's like, what's important to you? Who loves you? Who do you love? Who do you trust? Who can you lean on? Who's taking care of you? Who are you taking care of? It was all so confronted. We were so confronted with so many truths, personally. And so I think it's really incredible to then move around and shift and find your new people or your renewed people, because we're connecting on this level. We don't want to live pretending anything. We want to be our most authentic selves and be that deeply connected, because otherwise, kind of, what's the point?
Well said. Yeah, that's the promised land to me, is
Mhm.
being fully expressed and having empowered connection.
Yeah.
And everything else feels like junk food to me right now.
Yeah. Yeah. Kind of like, who cares?
Yeah.
I don't have it in me.
Yes.
Yeah.
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 It's been a great clarifier.
Yeah. So it's the end of our hour, and I have a chat pack question.
Yay!
I have several, so I just have to choose one. Okay. Oh my God. Okay, this is such a good question. Okay. What is the longest or hardest you've ever laughed at something?
I peed in my pants as an adult.
Mm-hmm.
Me too.
I hope this isn't catching.
What?
I said, I hope it's not catching. I can say in recent memory, like in the last year, because I could think like definitely sleepovers as a kid and stuff, but I remember being in the car on a road trip with Honey, and we had gotten sushi and seaweed because we were going to places we didn't know where the food was going to be up in the Adirondacks. And I've had seaweed salads so often. And in this particular time, I'm doing like, not literally, but like the 22 chews, right? Like I'm chewing. And I look at him and I'm like, this hasn't changed. Like, I've done all this work and it hasn't changed a lick. Like, it's like I basically should have just been swallowing it, because all my chewing did not change the form of the seaweed salad at all.
Whoa.
And we laughed so hard, like in the car, like, you know, that side busting laughter, because it was true. It's like, why are we even chewing this? This is not, like, we're doing nothing here. But it was one of those, like, I don't know, the kind that after you have that laugh, you're just like released in a way. You're softer, you're exhaled. Like, that's what it felt like. So,
and that makes me think, what's in seaweed?
I know. I'm like, huh. Okay.
I love that question. And hopefully there's more belly laughs to come, you know?
Yeah. I don't know that I can think of a particular time, but I will say some of my favorite memories of laughter are with my friends. And a lot of times it's at myself, like right now. Like, I don't even know I'm laughing. I'm just laughing because I can really be ridiculous, and I laugh at my own ridiculousness, and I'm like, that's totally okay, Heidi. And thank God I can laugh at myself, you know? Yeah. But peeing, oh my God, peeing, oh my God. Those are the best. And when my face hurts from laugh, like oh my God, those are the best. Yeah, love that.
Thank you both so much for being here and for just enjoying sort of the infinity flow of conversation and communion. And I think, you know, spirits had some celebration here in this last hour, which feels really good.
Yeah, I think so too. Yeah. Thank you, Lindsey, for being our second guest.
Thank you so much for having me. I love spending time with you both so much. You know that.
Yeah.
I love spending time with you. Thank you.